Fortnite, especially nowadays, is always full of crazy controversies, whether that's changes to the game that players don't like, or some things that the community did that just really shouldn't happen. Fortnite overall has had some crazy controversies over the years, so today I'm going to go through all of them, all from the oldest to the most recent. Keep in mind, I'm not going to be going over every single Fortnite controversy. That would be kind of cringe. I'm just going to be going over the broad ones that everyone cares about. Alright, so first up, we gotta go all the way back to Chapter 1, Season 7, when they added the Infinity Blade. Now, the Infinity Blade was essentially this giant sword that you could get on the map. You would land there, grab the sword, and you were basically invincible. There was a sword that did a ton of damage and gave you like 500 health, not including shield. It was just overall a crazy broken item, and it was the very first mythic item that was added to the game. This kind of showed that Epic Games just didn't really know what they wanted to do with mythic items. Listen, I'm all for mythic items being super overpowered, but not when it's like this, where it ruins entire tournaments. For those who don't remember, there was a tournament where there was a cash cup that when you win, you get some cash. And it was completely ruined by the Infinity Blade because the dude who got the Infinity Blade just won the whole game. It was that broken. Next, we're going to talk about Season X, which is a pretty controversial season even today. You either really, really love it or you absolutely despise it. There's no in between. Now, back when Season X came out, however, everyone hated it. I don't know if there was a single person who liked it, and it was simply because of one item: the mechs. If you played Fortnite around this time, then it would be completely crazy because everyone would have a mech. I mean, not everyone. There were only like 4 or 5 people on the map, but you get what I'm saying. The thing is, the mechs had absolutely no counters to them whatsoever. They were basically just these giant, indestructible killing machines. Now, me personally, I wasn't really a fan of the mechs. I didn't think they were super terrible like people said because there was only a limited amount of them on the map, but still, they did kinda suck. However, this was the very first time that the entire community just came together talking about how they hated this season and wanted something new and different. And then we went into Chapter 2, and it's safe to say that we were free from controversies for a while, until around Chapter 2, Season 3, when Epic Games got hit with a big ol' lawsuit from the monopoly known as Apple. Now, there's a bunch of different legal reasons for why they got sued, but essentially I'll just break down the main gist of it. So, essentially, Fortnite was on mobile on iOS, and when you had that, there was a choice to purchase V-Bucks, which is the in-game currency. Now, Apple has a policy where you have to spend a small percentage of money and give it to Apple, which essentially means if you pay like, I don't know, $10, 3 of those dollars goes to Apple. Now, obviously, Epic Games wasn't a huge fan of this, they want to keep their money, even though they make like billions of dollars a year, even with that tax. So what they did was introduce either a Apple payment or a direct to Epic payment, which essentially means, hey, buy V-Bucks through the Epic Games Store. And when you did that, you could get the V-Bucks for a cheaper price, but all the money would go to Epic Games. And Apple did not like this, so they ended up removing Fortnite from the App Store and taking away Epic Games publisher privileges. Basically, they can't put any app on the App Store. And Epic Games didn't take this lightly, and Apple was actually going to sue Fortnite, and so they made the 1980 Fortnite. And that was really, really funny when it first came out, talking about how, we gotta save Fortnite, like the 8-year-olds who play the game are gonna do anything. Needless to say, after that, we were pretty devoid of controversy up until Chapter 2, Season 6, Primal, which is universally regarded as the worst season in Fortnite history. Essentially, this season just had a theme of surviving in the wilderness, going off your primal instincts. And in concept, that sounds cool, but Epic Games just executed it really poorly by introducing a crafting mechanic that really, really just was not thought out whatsoever. First, you had to find like these makeshift weapons, and then you had to craft them into primal weapons, which were better because the makeshift weapons suck, so you were basically forced to craft. It was just overall not a really good system. Not to mention that the map was lame, the animals around the map were super annoying, the loot pool, like I said, the loot pool was just really, really bad. They removed snipers and replaced them with bows, which is probably just a me problem, but I absolutely hate bows. They're just so annoying to use. I just can't hit my shots with them. I just don't like bows. That's probably just a me issue, though. Now, as far as I can tell, we didn't have any crazy controversies for another year, up until Chapter 3, Season 4. And there was no controversy with this season itself. Like, yes, some people hated it, but a lot of people loved it, so it's just kind of in the middle on how much people like it or not. But one of the most hated things about this season is the Fracture quote-unquote live event. The Fracture event was the end event for Chapter 3, and so everyone was super excited for it, as they should be, because the previous 2 chapter end events have been really, really good. Top 10 events, in my opinion. Not to mention the whole fact that this map was just super hyped up, and like all of a sudden the event just ended up being, how do I say this? Pretty bad. This was essentially just a Fortnite creative map where we would run around and play mini games, and not even mini games, we just were collecting stuff, doing side quests. It was just such a boring event. There was nothing happening, and not to mention the fact this went on for 44 minutes, which is way too long for an event. I think at max it should be 10 minutes, and even then I think that's kind of pushing it a little. Don't get me wrong, live events are a crazy feat of gaming that Fortnite should really be applauded for, but this event just really was not it. It was super bad, and it would be one thing if this was just like another event that they didn't hype up too much, but they hyped this event up a lot with tons of teasers and like different trailers, and it was a chapter end event, which normally they save the best events for last. So yeah, overall this event was just looked on really poorly and is often considered the worst event of all time. Okay, next let's go on to Chapter 4 Season 2 with the introduction of UEFN, or Unreal Editor for Fortnite. Often considered by the community as Creative 2.0, this was essentially just a really, really powerful game developer inside of Fortnite. You could make your own games, essentially turning Fortnite into Roblox. And that's what I wanted to talk about, the problems with UEFN, especially in its early days. In its early days, there were tons of maps that really just shouldn't abide by Fortnite's guidelines. Like, there were so many racist maps, there were so many maps that were obviously just meant to get clicks or controversy. Problem is, Fortnite just didn't really address this until it was too big of a problem, and so they were like, okay, we gotta say something now. Not to mention how even there could be good creative maps out there that are overshadowed by the overstimulating thumbnails or the overstimulating maps of those tycoons or death runs. Not to mention the fact that these creative map developers get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's actually crazy how much money they make, and possibly because of that, there have been tons of layoffs at Epic Games in the past couple years. It really sucks, and it shouldn't happen for some stupid, silly creative maps, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. Okay, now moving on to the next controversy, we have Fortnite OG. Now, you might be wondering, what's so controversial about Fortnite OG? Everyone loved it. Well, I'm talking about the end event, where they essentially just revealed every single thing they had for their metaverse. And everyone was considering this event just to be a big ad. I kind of agree. I don't think it really matters that they're advertising the maps. I just think it's just kind of cool to just run around and seeing the maps for the first time. I don't think it was bad. But while we're on the topic, let's talk about the metaverse. For those of you who don't know, Fortnite essentially is now just one big metaverse because it has multiple modes, including all the creative maps I talked about earlier. And on top of that, we have 3 new modes: Lego Fortnite, Rocket Racing, and Fortnite Festival. Now, this has been really controversial in the past because everyone has assumed that it's been taken away from Battle Royale, because the first season, when the modes were first introduced, we didn't really get a whole lot of content. And so everyone was pointing the fingers at the metaverse saying, it's ruined, it's absolutely ruined. Everyone assumed because these new modes were in the picture, Fortnite had to take away their resources from Battle Royale to help work on these new modes. And while it does kind of feel like that in the first season, I can confidently say that they still are primarily focused on Battle Royale. Lots of the modes are getting way less frequent updates than Battle Royale, definitely. So Fortnite just hasn't completely given up on Battle Royale. But while we're on the topic of Chapter 5 Season 1, let's talk about the one thing that's probably the biggest controversy out of all of them, which is the new movement. For those of you who left right after OG, let me give you a breakdown. Essentially, Fortnite just sort of changed up a couple of the movement animations, and in my opinion, they look pretty clean. It looks a lot more smooth, your character doesn't look like a robot. Overall, I just think it's pretty good. Keep in mind, it is pretty good, but the first week when it came out, they significantly slowed down the run speed. Basically, you moved way slower than you could in a normal game. And because of this, Fortnite players got pretty mad. They went out of the way to go under every single Fortnite post and comment, bring back the new movement. They went out of their way to harass people who like the new movement, and even went as far as to dox the main developer who was in charge of the new animations. Now listen, as much as I didn't like the new movement when it first came out, doxing someone should never happen. As much as you don't like a change in a video game, remember that the dude who made this is a human being who did nothing wrong. But he got rid of my movement. Who cares? Who cares if you move slightly slower in a video game? Who honestly cares? That should never be grounds for doxing someone. Now, thankfully, this dude is okay and hasn't had anything too bad happen to him other than the doxing, and Fortnite ended up increasing the movement speed and actually making it faster than the old movement. However, people are still somehow mad. I don't really know how. Now, of course, we have to talk about Donald Mustard. Essentially, he ended up leaving the game back in Chapter 3, Season 3, and then all of a sudden, everyone started saying how every single season past that season has been bad, even though that really hasn't been true. Like, don't get me wrong, we've gotten some okay seasons, but we haven't gotten a truly terrible one like Primal. And everyone was pinning the blame on the problems they have with Fortnite onto Tim Sweeney and his quote-unquote stupid metaverse. Listen, like the metaverse or not, Donald Mustard had the plan for the metaverse. He was the one who originally created the metaverse. Now, obviously, Tim Sweeney had a completely different plan from him, but don't act like Donald Mustard just wasn't gonna add the metaverse and just always keep Battle Royale the exact same way that you want it to be. There was a whole nother thing about the Donald Mustard controversy that came out that really is too much for this video, so I'm just gonna skim over it real quick. Basically, the lack of live events, the lack of focus on the storyline has all been a result of Donald Mustard leaving, and also Epic wanting to focus on the metaverse. And while that does kind of suck, I feel like we have gotten so much fun in Fortnite lately that I feel like, honestly, it kind of balances it out. Okay, finally, let's talk about the current controversy that we are in. It's a brand new season. Chapter 5, Season 3, Wrecked. For those who don't know, or maybe you do, who knows, we are currently in a post-apocalyptic themed season where every single person can get a car with different weapon attachments on it. And you might be thinking, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. The thing is, these weapon attachments were, keyword, were pretty overpowered when they first came out. For the first week, these cars were super broken until they ended up getting some nerfs. Also, they got another nerf, and another nerf, and another nerf. And we keep getting nerfs. And they also removed all of the stuff from ranked, which they should have done from the very beginning. So now I feel like no one is happy. Yes, the pros get their stuff removed out of ranked, but then at the same time, no one in the public community is happy because everything in pubs is nerfed. All of the stuff is practically useless now. But yeah, those are all the controversies I wanted to go over. I'm done yapping now. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.